last 2 laps, and that is how he got the victory won. And I can tell you that the FA Racing Spain team are heartily congratulating each other, and I'm sure his teammates will be pleased with him, having done a fantastic job. I'm sure that Sergio Ruiz Alvarez and Sondra Norheim will also be very happy for their teammate and stablemate, who has done an absolutely amazing job. Unfortunately, Alex Anido is being recovered now on the exit of the chicane, as his race came to an end with mechanical difficulties. But the new champion in the IAME Winter Cup 2018 for X30 Minis is Miguel Pero Lezuraga, and totally deserved as well. The 11-year-old has been absolutely amazing today, and yesterday, of course, as well. And truly sensational. What a result, and what a great victory. So now we move on from the X30 Minis, and we take up stock of the situation, and we move on to the next race, which will be in about 14 minutes' time or so, as we look to our race victor from the X30 Minis, Miguel Pero Lezuraga. So it'll be the Spanish national anthem that will ring out over the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero, much to the delight of the locals. And, of course, to Miguel, who knows his way around this circuit very well indeed. So he will be absolutely on it when he gets onto the podium. He was very shy and nervous yesterday. I think those nerves will have dissipated a bit now. All he can feel now is joy and relief after his amazing fight with a very worthy second place. Let's not forget that from Lucas Jack Flushercross in second position. Did an absolutely amazing job. Even to get into pole position in the first place, he drove beautifully and came so close to being champion himself. But well done to Lucas Jack Flushercross. I don't think that's the last time you'll hear that name either. The next final is probably going to be the most spectacular start of the 4 starts in the X30 finals, and that comes from the Super Shifters. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the world of X30 Super Shifter karting, basically these are the fastest karts in the paddock. They are the gearbox machines, and they are 10 seconds a lap, roughly, faster than those in the X30 Mini Brigade. The 2 drivers who came a cropper a little bit earlier on are now being recovered. I didn't see them having gone off there on the exit of turn 12, but that is where they disappeared. That is Sondra Norheim and Louis Hofbeck, who were battling away earlier on, and that was on the first lap even. I didn't even see them disappear, but that's where they ended up, unfortunately. So they are now being recovered by the rescue truck. And now we talk about the Super Shifters. They've been very exciting all weekend long. There's only 9 of them on the starting grid for this final, but they are gearbox karts, which means that they are definitely not boring. They are, in fact, the most spectacular grid that we have here in the paddock in terms of the noise, in terms of the spectacle, in terms of the speed, and in terms of the gusto and guile of the drivers as well. We have 9 of them here who have given us some magnificent entertainment all the way through the meeting, and it's been truly sensational to see how these guys have done. They've been absolutely amazing. And the X30 Super Shifters, they give so much noise, so much speed, and so much power. This is the only grid in the paddock that gives us a standing start for each race, and that's why we tend to get an awful lot of drivers and spectators flocking to the best seats in the house when these guys get on the starting grid, particularly for the final they will, because we now have, for my money, 5 drivers who could potentially win of the 9. That is how competitive it is. But the winner of the pre-final was Nico Rohrwasser. He starts from pole position. The winner of Heat 3 yesterday was Philip Siever, and he came second in the earlier pre-final, hence why he joins Rohrwasser on the front row of the grid. Then we have the man who dominated the first 2 heats yesterday, Kevin Liddy, who is no stranger to running at the front. The Estonian Antti Ramo has come onto the second row of the grid alongside him after a great battle with his countrymen, Sten-Dorian Peremagi and Kasper Korjus, who will now line up on the third row of the grid. Michel Biffiger and Joelle Dias will be together on the 4th row, while the local hero, who sadly retired in the pre-final, although he did start originally in pole position for the races yesterday with a fast qualifying time, is Carlos Leon. So 9 drivers. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I promise you, you won't be disappointed, because the racing will be frenetic between these 9 drivers. They are quite closely matched indeed, and as a result of that, it means we're going to get quite a spectacle around the circuit. So as the sun bakes down over the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero circuit, 1 final down and 3 to go. And it's been absolutely amazing, the spectacle. So many drivers and teams are flocking to the sidelines when it's not their turn, especially those drivers who have failed to make it into the finals and pre-finals. They still want to watch great racing, even if they can't make it into the finals themselves. And there's quite a few teams that have arrived here who are going to be testing at the Lucas Guerrero circuit in the next week, some of whom have travelled from all over Europe again just for testing. It's a great location for doing that during your school holidays if you're a youngster. And so plenty of teams have elected to do that over the course of the next few days. And so there are quite a few of those who are in the paddock. I'm fairly sure I've seen a few drivers from the Birolart UK Series paddock who have popped in to watch the action here at the X30. And to be honest, that's quite appropriate because we have a Birolart chassis that's going to be on the grid in the X30 Super Shifter. It comes from the Portuguese star Joelle Dias. And it'll be an interesting fight for the Super Shifters to see how they get on. They now make their way to the grid. And that means that in about 9 minutes' time, the second of our X30 finals in the IAME Winter Cup will get underway, and with much gusto, noise, and an explosion of colour as they get off the starting grid. So you can see as the drivers and mechanics make their way onto the starting grid, it's not as busy a grid as some of the other categories, but it's definitely going to be an exciting one, especially for the man on pole position, Nico Rohrwasser, who has got himself a very good day at the office so far, having fought his way onto the podium yesterday a couple of times, and now finds himself in pole position. Alongside him is Philip Siever, who has already had a good day so far, and a good one yesterday as well, taking the victory in the third heat. Kevin Liddy on the second row of the grid was a double heat winner yesterday, and has been in the top 3 all weekend. So Kevin Liddy will be trying to make it a top finish once again. Was pole position earlier today, but Nico Rohrwasser clearly had his breakfast this morning and he's ready to go and is fired up for the victory. Alongside Kevin Liddy on the front row, though, is the Estonian Antti Rameau. And Antti was looking particularly strong yesterday for the Euro karting team, along with his teammate Sten-Dorian Piramagi, who was very strong all of yesterday, despite starting from the 4th row of the grid. He always found a way to shot forward and storm into the top 3, and he's always been there or thereabouts, Sten-Dorian Piramagi, one of the more spectacular drivers on the grid, and always up for a good scrap and a good overtake. So keep an eye on the Estonian from 5th on the grid, and from the inside line, Piramagi is sure to be a contender for victory. Also, though, from the Ike's Racing team is his countryman and genuine rival in the championship, Kasper Korjus, who has been up and down the grid all weekend. He was fastest in practice, don't forget, in both sessions, and has been looking like he would be the driver to go for the victory in all of the races. But ever since qualifying, the mechanical sympathy of the kart has not quite been working his way. However, if they've got it all sorted, then Kasper Korjus will definitely be a contender for victory, because over one lap, he is absolute lightning. So do keep an eye out for that. In 7th position, a much stronger performance in the pre-final from Michel Biffiger. He has gone very well over the course of the weekend. He starts from the 4th row of the grid and crucially from the inside line. So that's going to make things particularly prevalent for him going into this final. However, he's been very strong over the course of the morning. Today, he really seems to have hit a sweet spot with the kart, and he's been genuinely in some good battles over the course of the weekend. Alongside him is the Portuguese star in the Birolart chassis, that is Joelle Dias. He's never had the same speed as the other drivers around him, but he's definitely been faster today than he has been in the previous 2 days. He's still learning. He loves driving the kart, and it definitely looks good out there, the Birolart chassis, even in the gorgeous sunshine and even when he's running around on his own. But his lap times are improving all the time, and Joelle Dias is here for the enjoyment of the sport, and he's certainly loving it no matter where he finishes. Behind him on the grid, though, is the man who started today at the very front. It's a bit of a contrast to starting from the very back, and that is the Spaniard Carlos Leon. Do not forget, he is still only in his first ever weekend in X30 Super Shifters. It is a tall order for drivers who are not used to this sport, and he has taken to it like a duck to water. Over one lap, he is incredibly fast, and that is why he found himself in pole position in qualifying over Friday evening. But even yesterday during the qualifying heats, he was particularly impressive, managed to get himself a 2nd position behind Kevin Liddy in one of the heats, and he has been fighting in the top 4 for most of the day. It all went awry earlier today in the pre-final with a mechanical failure. That is the only reason he is down at the back, and do not expect him to stay there, because Carlos Leon will definitely be fighting his way forward and gunning for a victory. So there is your 9 drivers, and there is all of them bidding and gunning for the victory in the X30 Super Shifter final of the IAME Winter Cup 2018. 5 minutes to go. Spectators are starting to flood in around the various parts of the circuit, up on top of the cafeteria, just opposite the pits and opposite my position in the commentary box, actually. A lot of the people have been watching from the cafeteria viewing gallery. There's a lot of people crowding around the final corner as well, actually, because that tends to be where a lot of the great overtaking moves finish, on the end of the lap, down at the final braking zone of the circuit. And that is in that fast right, left, right, where we've seen so many races decided and played out in those final 3 corners, and could well see another one here today as well played out that way. But there's plenty of talented racing drivers around this particular circuit and on this grid. The helmets are starting to go on as the drivers are about to be called to their carts and the mechanics are about to be asked to leave the grid. The X30 Mini's got AC/DC. The Super Shifters get Twisted Sister. And why not? It is an amazing day here in Valencia. To coin a phrase from Jim Carrey, it is B-E-A-beautiful out here in Valencia. And we have got 9 very feisty drivers up for a bit of a battle here in the X30 Super Shifters. Nicholas Rohrwasser starts from pole position. Alongside him on the grid, it is Philip Seaver. The whistle goes, the mechanics will clear the grid. This is their moment to get ready for battle. So Rohrwasser and Seaver on the front row. Kevin Luddy and Antti Ramo on the second row of the grid. Stendorian Penemagi and Kasper Korjus are there on the third row for Estonia. Michel Biffiger, Joelle Dias and Carlos Leon will complete the grid. Good to see that there's great camaraderie and strength of spirit in this particular grid, the X30 Super Shifters. They're all doing this because for them, this is the pinnacle, not just of karting, but of motorsport. There is nothing quite like gearbox racing in the world of karting. Nothing compares to it. Nothing gives you that same thrill. Nothing stands the hairs on the back of your neck in quite the same way. I've spoken to countless racers who do karting at gearbox level, and they all say the only way to get better than this is Formula One. So effectively, this is Formula One with no budget. Rohrwasser on the front row of the grid, alongside him Philip Seaver, Kevin Luddy, Antti Ramo, Stendorian Penemagi, Kasper Korjus, Michel Biffiger, Joelle Dias and Carlos Leon. How do you make a 9-kart race interesting? Easy. Make it gearbox karts. Just ask the world champions who've tested these over the years, the likes of Rob Huff, David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Valentino Rossi. They've all had a go in super shifters or gearbox karts of the same size of spec. And even Valentino Rossi, when he got out of one that he tested it at Laguna Seca, turned to the mechanic and said, "You guys are lunatics." And that is coming from Valentino Rossi. That tells you the kind of racing driver you need to be to handle X30 Super Shifters. In a word, special. A really special kind of superstar to do this kind of racing. And as we have mentioned before, this is the only grid in the paddock where the racing will be a standing start. So the engines come on, and in a few seconds' time, we'll be going around for our formation lap. And then once the formation laps are completed, 2 times around the circuit, then we will be ready to race for the IAME Winter Cup in the X30 Super Shifters. The seconds tick down, and we get ready to see who is going to be the champion of 2018 in the IAME Winter Cup. Will it be Nico Rohrwasser, Philip Seaver, Kevin Luddy, Antti Ramo, Stendorian Penemagi, Kasper Korjus, Michel Biffiger, Joelle Dias, or Carlos Leon? The drivers are revving up, ready to go. The engine revs on the start line, and the drivers go around for their formation lap. And now we step into the unknown. Several drivers have hit the front over the course of this weekend. Philip Seaver, Nico Rohrwasser, Kevin Luddy, Kasper Korjus and Carlos Leon have all led and then won sessions over the course of the meeting. Antti Ramo has come close, being in the top 4. That's where he starts this race from. Stendorian Penemagi has been in the top 3 for a lot of the meeting. And then the likes of Michel Biffiger and Joelle Dias have been making good progress as the weekend develops. So who is going to be the winner? It genuinely could be any one of these 9. It will be a very close and intense contest. They all have the potential to become the X30 Super Shifter IAME Winter Cup champion here on the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero. In an area of the world I am slowly starting to fall head over heels in love with. I do love this part of the world now. Shiva, just outside Valencia. It's a wonderful town near a wonderful city. And it is the most picturesque scenery. You look out over the side of the circuit into the distance and you can see the magnificent Spanish mountains up towards Andorra. And it is absolutely wonderful, this entire scenery. The backdrop is stunning, the landscape is picturesque, and the race circuit is one of the toughest technical challenges in Europe. Fast, long straights that eat into your engine, and then those tight twisting apexes where you've got to have the conviction and the confidence in your own ability to pull off the overtaking move. Otherwise, not only will it compromise you, but the rest of the field as well. You've got to know it's going to stick and know it's going to work to your advantage. You have to be a real intelligent racing driver to make the move stick here. It's not just about driving fast. You've got to think fast and be smart on the throttle as well. So, the Super Shifter final. Everybody around the circuit is gathering a vantage point. Even if this isn't their final, they want to witness it. There's nothing quite like a Super Shifter start. And in the final, it's going to be the most dramatic of all. Standing start on the grid. Nico Robassa going from pole position. Second place alongside him on the grid, Philip Siva. Kevin Liddy in third. Alongside him on the grid, in fourth place, Antti Rameau. On the fifth and sixth positions on the third row, it is the Estonian pair of Sten-Dorian Peremägi and Kasper Korjus. Then Michel Beviga, Joelle Dias and Carlos Leon. The karts get into their position. They will not be sat on the grid for long. They get into position. And we remove the flag from the starter. Here we go. It is time to get going for the X30 Super Shifter final of the IAME Winter Cup at Valencia. Ready, go! What a start from Siva. Terrific getaway. Antti Rameau gets a lightning one as well. Sten-Dorian Peremägi trying to go around the outside of Kevin Liddy and has got the pace. Has he got the grip? No, he hasn't. So he has to stop back in behind Liddy. But it's Siva, Robassa, Rameau, Liddy, and then Sten-Dorian Peremägi. Biffiga's got a good start. He slots in behind Kasper Korjus. Carlos Leon has got past Joelle Dias nice and early. So as they filter through, turns 8 and 9 up and coming ahead of them. Through the 2 left flicks. They will go onto the short stretch down to turn 9. Down to turn 10, sorry. And this is all go. Look at that absolutely magnificent pendulum swing as Sten-Dorian Peremägi tries to go around the outside of Kevin Liddy to move up at a P4. Kasper Korjus very nearly took advantage of that as they come down onto the back straight. The long, long sweeping back straight. Then through the 2 right-handers. You stay planted to the throttle here. It's only when you get down to the braking zone for the chicane that you hit the brakes. You've got to be so careful how you do it. But look at Philip Siva. He is disappearing on the first lap of 17. Carlos Leon at the back of the field. He was at the front earlier today. It's all been a difficult uphill climb for the Spaniard. But he is still plenty of time to go his way forward. 16 laps to go. And they'll be over before you know it. It's a quick race, these guys. The lap times are 54 seconds. The fastest karts around the circuit, without any shadow of doubt. Now, Antti Rameau up into third position is desperately trying to stick with the man in second place, Nico Robassa. But Philip Siva has absolutely gone out of the blocks like a jackrabbit and has already got about 6 or 7 kart lengths on the rest of the field. And he's trying to disappear. He got a little unsettled there through 11, though. So if he keeps it going all the way through that long flowing turn 12, he's really going to find it tricky to keep the pace going if he makes more mistakes like that. So he's got to try and keep the pace together. But now we've got Liddy up the inside of Antti Rameau, and that drifts him wide, and through as well goes Sten-Dorian Peremägi. Peremägi's now going to go alongside Kevin Liddy. Peremägi dives for the inside, and the Estonian is through. Peremägi through into third place. Kevin Liddy trying to get him on the undercut, and doesn't make it stick. Through into turn 3 and 4. Very tight chicane this. You've got to get it absolutely spot on because it then compromises you for 5, 6, and 7 if you get it wrong. And how about that? Nico Robassa has started to tail up towards Philip Siva once again. Through 8, through 9, and down to the short stretch into what is nearly a 180-degree hairpin at turn 10, and then into 11, which is, if you were a rally driver, that would be a 1 right opens. Absolutely amazing. It goes on and on and on forever. Down the back straight. Double right flick. Hard on the throttle. Down in the braking zone. Right, left, Right, and it's a very close battle now because Siva is being caught by Robassa. Here come the other 6 in the battle. Pitamagi, Ludi, Ramo, Cordius, Leon and Bifiga. And still they run together. Joelle Dias is falling away as he has tended to do. But still we've got a good battle opening up for 3rd position. Look at this 6-cart cavalry as they run around the circuit. Through 6, the right. Through 7, the left. And it is Pitamagi at the front of the queue from Kevin Ludi, Antti Ramo, Kasper Korjus, Carlos Leon and Michel Biviga. Ludi's looking pretty comfortable here in 4th position, trying to make the move on Stendori and Pitamagi. He doesn't want to let Siva and Robassa get too far ahead, but this is just like the pre-final. Robassa initially getting held up there and being left behind a little bit, but then he starts to draw in Philip Siva. So despite starting on pole position, Kevin Ludi finds himself in 4th place. I mean pole position for the pre-final earlier on, of course. He started the day as the early favourite and has had to fight his way back ever since. But this is getting to be quite an intense competition, as the X30 Super Shifters have tended to be all weekend. We're still battling. Siva and Robassa now in front. Robassa now in front of Siva. He has got himself into the lead early this time. Will he disappear, or has Siva got anything in his pocket? As Ludi has got into 3rd place as well. So Ludi into 3rd position in front of Pitamagi and Antti Ramo, Kasper Korjus, Carlos Leon and Michel Bifiga. Joelle Dias is still on the racetrack. Still running around as we're on 5 of 17. Has Philip Siva got a response? Well, Stendori and Pitamagi makes the move on Antti Ramo, and Kasper Korjus gets through as well. And Carlos Leon's going to try and follow in as well, but doesn't quite get the move. So, continuing on down the back straight and then into the double right flick. Is Carlos Leon going to make the move on the inside of Antti Ramo? Yes, he does. So, Carlos Leon is now up into 6th position. Trying to close down on Kasper Korjus. The top 5 have separated a little bit. Carlos Leon having to battle away from Antti Ramo and Michel Biviga, who go round the outside of Carlos Leon. Leon shuts the door and stops Biviga coming through, but Antti Ramo manages to get the move done pretty early on, down into the braking zone, and holds the car together. He is a feisty racer, is Antti Ramo. Magnificent stuff from Antti Ramo today. He has put himself into the top 4 more than once. He finds himself in P6 at the moment. But now that Kevin Ludi has been released, he is chasing after Philip Siva, his teammate, and Nico Robassa, the race leader. If anybody can catch up to Nico Robassa, it's Kevin Ludi, but he's got his own teammate in the way. Philip Siva in 2nd place, and Siva will not want to play second fiddle to his own teammate. You've got to remember that while these guys are teammates, and while this is the pinnacle of the sport, in karting, you race for yourself. You can help your teammate out through the course of proceedings, and they will probably work together to close up on Robassa. But once it gets to the final 2 laps, there are no friends on the racetrack. It's every man for themselves. And nobody will know that quite the way these guys will. Ludi closing up to Siva. Kasper Korjus going against his great rival Stendori and Pitamagi. Great racers from Estonia, these two. They know each other well. And they continue to battle away for position. But Nico Robassa leads. Philip Siva 2nd in front of Kevin Ludi. Ludi's getting very close to his teammate now. Very close to his teammate. Are they going to try some strategy here? Is Ludi going to help his teammate move further forward? Through the double right flick. And into the right, left, right at the end of the circuit. Siva has still got his teammate, Kevin Ludi, right behind him. The Swiss pair doing as much as they possibly can to close up on their compatriot. Here goes Kevin Ludi, up on the inside. Siva shuts the door. Oh, that's the first big move from Kevin Ludi to get into 2nd place, and his teammate will not let him get through easily. 7 down, 10 to go. 10 laps left, and Robassa's got the advantage at the moment. Will he be crowned the X30 Super Shifter IAME Winter Cup champion? He's only 10 laps away from it at the moment, but you never know. There's still a long way to go. We're not even halfway home. We're on lap 8. And still the battle rages as Siva and Ludi continue to battle. The Estonians are absolutely at each other's throats at the moment. Stendori and Pitamagi and Antti Ramo, the Euro karting pair, are currently sandwiching the man in the middle, Kasper Korjus. And is Ludi going to make the move on Siva this time? No, he's not. So still they remain in position. Carlos Leon in 7th is falling away with Michel Bifiga in close company. Carlos Leon just doesn't have the mechanical sympathy with the kart at the moment to get closer to the front. A real shame considering he was pole position in qualifying yesterday, on Friday, sorry, and was battling with Kevin Ludi for a race victory on Saturday. But this is going to be an interesting one for Rohrwasser, trying to stretch out the advantage on Siva and Liddy. Oh, they have swapped now. They have swapped. So Liddy is now in front of Philip Siva. So now there are 9 laps for Kevin Liddy to close down the gap to Rohrwasser. And if anybody can, Liddy can. Liddy was quicker in the first sector. Quicker in the second sector. He is starting to chip away at Rohrwasser. It's literally a couple of hundredths of a second at the moment, but Rohrwasser knows he's got to push absolutely tooth and nail to get away from Kevin Liddy, who's pushing very hard indeed. Look at the Estonian trio, 4th, 5th and 6th, battling away down the back straight. Here comes Kasper Korjus on the main straight, up on the inside, and Antti Ramo might get past then Dorian Pinemargi as well. Korjus gets in a 4th position, Pinemargi slots back in a 5th, and Antti Ramo is there in 6th place. Then it's Carlos Leon and Michel Biviga. Great racing. Absolutely fantastic stuff around this magnificent circuit. But Rohrwasser in the lead. Kevin Liddy in 2nd. Philip Siva is 3rd. Now, Rohrwasser's fastest lap is still quicker than Liddy's, but Liddy is the only one who can run to within the same 10th of Rohrwasser at the moment. Everybody else is in the 55.1s, although Antti Ramo is only slightly out of the rounding there for fastest lap. He's actually inside that 10th. I was wrong. So Antti Ramo is the 3rd one within the same 10th of each other. Rohrwasser, Liddy and Siva across the line, completing lap 10. 7 to go. And Liddy is quicker than Rohrwasser by 0.2 of a second. Now, the gap at the moment is 1.2. Mathematically, if Liddy keeps taking 0.2 out of Rohrwasser, he will catch him before the finish. Rohrwasser's got to be on his A game. So too is Kevin Liddy. Liddy is reining him in. There is about a second or so between them now. And if he keeps taking 0.2 of a second out of Rohrwasser, then Kevin Liddy will get onto his tailpipe. He will start spitting his exhaust fumes. And he will start getting impatient. Kasper Korjus has dropped his Estonian colleagues to battle with Carlos Leon. And Kasper Korjus is now trying to close up on Philip Siva for 3rd place. But Nico Rohrwasser is desperately trying to get away from Kevin Liddy. These two know each other so well. They've battled each other so many times. Rohrwasser, a 55.3. Liddy, a 55.1. And another 0.2 of a second taken out from Liddy to Rohrwasser. 6 laps to go. He's got to keep this up. Kevin Liddy's got to keep up this kind of pace on Rohrwasser. He cannot afford to lose any more pace. It's going to be close, but Rohrwasser has enough of a gap at the moment to be relatively comfortable. He's just got to keep pushing. Down the short stretch to 10. In the first split, Kevin Liddy is 0.02 of a second faster. Through 11. Continuing on through to 12. And keeping it all the way. Rohrwasser, 24.140. He's slightly quicker than Kevin Liddy in the second split. So they're at stalemate at the moment. Right, left, right for Rohrwasser. Right, left, right for Liddy. Siva is being caught by Korjus. Antti Ramo, Dorian Pinemargi, Carlos Leon and Michel Biviga. And again, Kevin Liddy is faster than Rohrwasser, but by only 0.005 of a second on that last lap. Rohrwasser is doing enough to keep this victory intact. 5 laps to go. A second is the gap. Liddy has got to be 0.2 of a second faster on every single lap than Rohrwasser and hope that he doesn't get close enough to make a move. But Nico Rohrwasser knows what he's doing here, and the Swiss superstar is doing a great job. Will Rohrwasser get the job done here in front of Kevin Liddy and Philip Siva? It looks like at the moment it will be an all-Swiss podium, although Kasper Korjus has other ideas. He's trying to close up. Down the back straight. First sector, Rohrwasser was faster. Second sector, Rohrwasser was faster. Rohrwasser is trying to get away. He knows now just how far back Kevin Liddy is, and he's still going faster. So Rohrwasser extends the gap to Liddy. At the moment, it looks as though Nico Rohrwasser is going to get the job done. We have 4 laps to go, and I'm not so sure that Kevin Liddy has got enough time to close up. Now, they are going to lap Joelle Dias on the next lap, I think, and that could end up potentially causing an issue. Kasper Korjus, meanwhile, is closing right up on Philip Siva. He is not done yet by any means. Rohrwasser still about a second ahead of Kevin Liddy, and that's enough. He doesn't need to be a million miles ahead. He just needs to be far enough ahead that he's composed enough down the back straight. And as things currently stand, I do not see how Nico Rohrwasser is going to lose this one. Down into the S's. Right, left, right, and Liddy just isn't catching him fast enough. Rohrwasser across the line does a 55-2, a 55-3 for Liddy. No, Rohrwasser's pulling away again. And he goes round the outside of Joelle Dias to lap him. And that hasn't even caused him a whisker of an issue. And it might just, for Kevin Liddy, well, maybe only a fraction. But with the blue flag waving, Joelle Dias needs to get right out of the way, and he does so. For Siva and Korjus, who are now battling over third place. Korjus desperately, frantically trying to catch up with Philip Siva and get himself at least onto the podium and spoil the all-Swiss party. But Rohrwasser in front of Liddy, it's going perfectly well. Third place, that is your man Philip Siva in front of Kasper Korjus. Then it's Antti Ramos, then Dorian Pirimagi and Carlos Leon. No, Carlos Leon is in the pits. Carlos Leon appears to be out. Oh no, that's Dorian Pirimagi who's out. Dorian Pirimagi is out of the race. Now that is a shock. That's the first time he has retired from a motor race this weekend. But Dorian Pirimagi, who's been particularly strong, is out of the race, I'm afraid to say. That's a real shame for the Estonian. Dorian Pirimagi is now out. Rohrwasser leads Kevin Liddy, who gets 0.2 of a second out of him in the first sector. But with 2 laps to go, I think he's run out of time. Surely he can't catch Rohrwasser that quickly. I think it'll all come down to how these karts are set up for the final 2 laps of the race, because this is the longest they have been pushed all day. Here we go, though. It's going to be tricky for Kasper Korjus and the man in third place, Philip Siva. They will battle away against each other for the final 2 laps of this motor race. But I think Rohrwasser is going to be okay in front of Liddy. He is losing time to him, but he's not losing so much that he needs to panic. Out of the final turn, Rohrwasser, 1 lap to go. Kevin Liddy is definitely catching him. He took 0.4 of a second out of him in that last lap. But even if he does it again, Rohrwasser will be far enough ahead not to have to panic. This is all Nico Rohrwasser's race to lose now. Oh, a bit of a mistake for Philip Siva, and Kasper Korjus got a little bit hectic trying to get past him. He got a little bit hasty there and went over the curbs. If he hadn't have done that, I think he'd have been all right. And Antti Ramo and Carlos Leon are not far behind either now, so they've got to be careful. But up in front, it is all about Nico Rohrwasser extending his advantage. Well, just not losing the position. Kasper Korjus is going to try and get one over on Philip Siva. The gap is not going to open up. And further up the road, we're going to crown our second IAME Winter Cup champion in the X30 Super Shifters. Out of the final turn, your 2018 IAME Winter Cup champion is Nico Rohrwasser! Oh, yes! He is elated as Siva just beats Korjus to the podium, and it is a Swiss 1-2-3. Oh, domination from Switzerland of the X30 Super Shifter class. And Nico Rohrwasser is absolutely elated. He is beside himself with joy and jubilation. If you could donut an X30 Super Shifter, I think he'd be doing it by now. But what an absolutely magnificent result for the 615. Nico Rohrwasser is absolutely overcome with emotion. Nico Rohrwasser, your champion in the IAME Winter Cup for 2018 in the X30 Super Shifter class. The X30 Minis podium was eclipsed by Spanish racers. The X30 Super Shifters podium is eclipsed by the Swiss. Absolutely fantastic result for Nico Rohrwasser. 2 arms in the air. He is an absolutely overjoyed and jubilant man. Terrific result for Nico Rohrwasser. He only won 2 races, but crucially, he won the